Welcome aboard. Whoa, whoa, steady there. It looks like you haven't got your sea legs yet. Now, before you become a pirate, you must become a sailor. Well, at least that's how most of us ended up here. I never intended to be a pirate. Perhaps there are those that are born for the pirating life, but most of us have sailed for the navies of our home countries. And most of us did not leave on good terms. Others already had a bad reputation on land and could not find any other work but pirating. Some had joined pirate crews when their slave ships or plantations were raided, and they found freedom through pirating. We all have our various reasons for being a pirate, and it comes with its benefits and its risks. Now, aboard a pirate ship, a person who was formerly enslaved could attain power and money in this part of the world. On these ships, all pirates, no matter who they were or where they were from, could vote, bear arms, and receive an equal share of the booty. Well, that is, if you had a good captain. Life on the sea can be rough. Sailors must trust their ship and their fellow crew through the rough winds and waves. For all on the ship, there are duties, meals, places to sleep, moments of serenity, and moments of sheer terror. Everyone on board has a job. Most of us are seamen, another name for a person who works as a sailor. Then there's the coxswain who steers the ship, and of course, there's the captain who is in charge of all operations. Now, to eat, we usually have salted meat, sea biscuits, sauerkraut, and bone soup. To drink, there's rum and ale. Everything is stored in crates and barrels, and you hope that no vermin find their way into the stockpile. Now, we may be out to sea for months, so you must bring food that will last, or you'll be eating something rotten. Now, while at sea, you may wonder where we sleep. Well, if you were the captain, or ranked higher amongst the crew, you might have a private sleeping quarter with a soft bed where you can rest your head. Otherwise, it'd be like me, sleeping in the hold with dozens of other crew members. Sometimes we have hammocks that rock you to sleep on the waves. Other times we just sleep on the floor, and you may end up rolling about during the night if the seas are rough. But eating and sleeping and sailing are not what pirates are most well known for. We're known for pilfering. We plunder treasure like gold and jewels, yes, but most of the time, we procure things we need to survive. We loot food, drinks, and supplies for sailing from other boats or at ports along the shore. Of course, the government does not like our business. They call us sea criminals, and if we are caught, we usually hung. That is, if we are not shot or wounded in one of our raids. Other sailors do not like to part with their possessions easily. So as you might imagine, pirates do not usually live a long life. We have to be careful not to catch certain diseases like scurvy. Scurvy gives you pale skin, hunchbacks, spotted skin, swollen gums, an unsteady gait, and loss of hair and teeth. Dysentery is also common on pirates. That gives you a fever and makes your stomach hurt something fierce. And the sea can be fierce too. The ship may go under in a storm or sink due to a leak we can't fix. But life on board a ship is not all awful. We make the best of our quarters and enjoy playing games of dice and cards, telling tales, playing music if we know how. And some pirates are also especially good artists and like to draw. So, what do you say? Is the pirate life for you? If so, come aboard.
Women are considered bad luck upon ships. Sailors are a superstitious lot. Lots of captains believe that a lady's presence would anger the sea gods and cause stormy seas, but I don't believe in any of that. I make my own luck. I never tried to hide the fact that I am a woman from my shipmates, Most didn't have a problem with having me on board. There was one man who objected, though, but I took care of him. Other pirates were not as kind to the women folk, however. Blackbeard, for one, banned women from his ship, and if his crew took one captive, she was thrown into the sea. So when looting and plundering, I disguised myself as a man. I wear a loose tunic and wide trousers, a sword hitched by my side, a brace of pistols tucked in a sash, and a small cap perched atop my head. I dress like a man, fight like a man, drink like a man, and I swear like one too. I was born in Ireland, just like that lady pirate of legend, Grace O'Malley. My father was a lawyer, William Cormac, and my mother was his maid. My father brought my mother and me to Charlestown. There my mother died of typhoid fever when I was 13 years old. That's when my fierce and courageous temper began to show itself. I spent a lot of my time in taverns, and many a rumor was spread about me. My father became concerned, mostly because my reputation was damaging to his business. Father arranged a marriage for me to a local man, but I did not want to marry him, so I ran off with a poor sailor by the name of James Bonny to New Providence in the Bahamas. And my father disowned me. That's where James became a snitch, turning in pirates to Governor Woodes Rogers and collecting the bounties on their heads. Woodes used to be a pirate himself, but these days he has vowed to bring all of his old comrades to trial, the rascal. Well, I didn't much like being married to a snitch, and I met a pirate named John Rackham, or Calico Jack as he was known, because he loved to wear garish clothing. I joined Calico Jack's crew, and he offered to pay my husband James to divorce me so I could get married, but John Bonny refused. Well, that didn't stop me from starting my life as a pirate. The crew of Calico Jack set out from Nassau Harbor after seizing a sloop named William. I started off my days as a pirate with a brilliant plan. I created a fake corpse by mangling the limbs of a dressmaker's mannequin and smearing them with false blood. When the crew of a passing French merchant ship spotted me wielding an axe over my creation, they surrendered their cargo without even a fight. Calico Jack and I began attacking merchant vessels all along the coast of Jamaica. The early fall of 1720 was a particularly profitable season for our crew. We took 7 fishing boats and 2 sloops near Harbor Island. A few weeks later, Mary and I led a raid against a schooner, shooting at the crew as we climbed aboard, cursing as we gathered their plunder. We took tackle, 50 rolls of tobacco, and 9 bags of pimento. But it was that fall when Captain Jonathan Barnett, under a commission from Nicholas Laws, the governor of Jamaica, caught up with us at Negril Point, Jamaica. Near midnight, Mary and I were on the deck of the ship when we noticed a mysterious sloop gliding up alongside us. Realizing it was one of the governor's vessels, we shouted for our crewmates to prepare to fight and stand with us. A few obliged, including Jack, but a lot of them were passed out from drinking too much. It was just Mary and I who were able to hold our liquor and make a stand. I screamed at the rest of them, "Dogs! If instead of these weaklings I only had some women with me!" Captain Barnett ordered for us to surrender, but Jack began firing a swivel gun. Barnett returned fire, which sent some of our men to cower in the hold. We were outnumbered. But Mary and I refused to surrender. We stayed on the deck, even when the rest of our crew had left us and faced the governor's men alone. We fired our pistols and swung our cutlasses. Mary was so disgusted by the rest of our crew that she stopped fighting long enough to peer over the entrance of the hold and yell, "If there's a man among ye, you'll come up and fight like the man ye are to be." When not a single one responded, she fired a shot down into the hold, killing one of them. We fought hard, but we were overpowered and taken prisoner. Jack and the rest of the crew were quickly found guilty of piracy. Calico Jack was scheduled to be executed by hanging on November 18th, and his final request was to see me. But I only had one thing to say to him. If you had fought like a man, you need not have been hanged like a dog. Mary and I were tried too and found guilty. We were sentenced to be hung, but we pleaded with our bellies. We had just found out that we were with child, so our executions were put off until we could deliver the children. My dear Mary died in prison the next year, but I was released. Suppose my father hadn't completely disowned me after all. He paid the ransom for me and brought me back to Charlestown. So here I am, no longer a pirate by trade, but a pirate I will always be. I long for the seas and adventure, but I've learned the heavy price of those desires. Perhaps I've paid the price and ought to live my life as a woman is expected. Or perhaps not. We'll see if the sound of the waves bring me back. Care to come along with me?
There isn't much difference between a privateer and a pirate. One seizes ships with the permission of the government in times of war. The other seizes ships with his own permission whenever he likes. After the end of Queen Anne's War, the British Crown didn't need privateers anymore, so I journeyed to Nassau in the summer of 1713. There I became the lieutenant of Captain Benjamin Hornigold, and was in charge of my own 8-gun sloop with 90 men under my command. I recall a time when we were all wanting to have a feast, but we didn't have any posh food. So we relieved a Jamaica-bound brigantine of its beef, peas, and oysters before releasing the boat. We made sure the captain told the tale to authorities in Kingston. Oh, we ate well that night. But we sailed far more than the Caribbean. Sometimes we went up to the Chesapeake Bay, Philadelphia, and New York Harbor, but we could never stay long. A pirate's welcome is indeed quite short. Best not to stay more than a day or two in any one place. It's harder for people to catch you that way. On one trip up that way, I captured at least 15 ships, and suddenly everyone seemed to know my name, Blackbeard. The captains of the ships I had looted went back to their homes in Philadelphia and New York with tales of woe, about how I had thrown their cargo into the sea, leaving vessels and their crews to run aground after hacking down their masts, cutting loose their anchors, and whisking away an entire cargo of indentured servants. Foolish rumors they were. If I had thrown cargo into the sea, it would not have been of any value or importance. And am I to stop indentured servants from freeing themselves and joining my crew? You must always stay at least one step ahead of your enemies. By the time military authorities had been alerted about my activities up north, I and my ship, the Revenge, were halfway to the far eastern side of the Caribbean. It was on that journey that my crew intercepted the French slaver ship La Concorde in the open ocean approaching the Windward Islands. Oh, what a boat. She was nearly as big as the Royal Navy frigates stationed in the Americas at that time and had enough gun ports to accommodate 40 cannons. But La Concorde was in no shape to fight us. 16 of her crewmen had died in the 8-month journey from France and Africa, and most of her survivors were stricken with scurvy in the bloody flux. My crew had 2 sloops, one with 120 men and 12 cannons. After firing just 2 volleys at La Concorde, Captain Doucet surrendered his ship to me. We kept food and valuables that were on the ship, of course, and some of the people who had been taken from Africa to be sold as slaves in the New World joined my crew. The cabin boy and 3 of his fellow French crewmen voluntarily joined my crew, and I took 10 others, including a pilot, 3 surgeons, 2 carpenters, 2 sailors, and the cook. Everyone else was put ashore. In return for their much larger ship, I gave the French the smaller of my 2 sloops. I can be nice, you know. They gave their new and much smaller vessel the name Mauvaise Rencontre, which means bad encounter. La Concorde was the perfect ship for a pirate. She was large, extremely fast, and could carry a lot of weapons and loot. Once captured, I brought the ship to the remote port of Bequia in the Grenadines, where the crew refitted her as a pirate frigate, and I renamed her Queen Anne's Revenge. With the Queen Anne's Revenge at the center of my fleet, I raced up the Lesser Antilles, then went to Guadalupe town and burned a fleet of merchant vessels next to the British fort on St. Kitts. This caused the governor of the Leeward Islands to abandon a tour of his colony aboard HMS Seaford for fear of being captured. Then my crew and I went to St. Croix, burned an English sloop, mostly for our own amusement, and sailed for Puerto Rico. One of my most daring feats to date would probably be when I blockaded the port of Charleston for nearly a week. We seized several ships attempting to enter or exit the port, and detained the crew and passengers of one ship, the Crowley, as prisoners. For their exchange, I demanded a chest of medicine, which can be far more valuable than any treasure, I assure you. For what is treasure without the life to enjoy it? And true to my word, once the medicine chest was delivered, I released the captives and I continued my journey up the coast. But I needed a base. And for that base, I chose an inlet in North Carolina. From there, I could collect tolls from shipping in the Pamlico Sound, the largest lagoon along the North American East Coast. I've even made an agreement with Charles Eden, the governor of the North Carolina colony. Yes, pirating is a risky business. But it is still just that, a business. Call me what you will. A sea criminal, a rapscallion, a marauder. I'll tell you what I think of myself as. A leader. And a fair one at that. We're all trying to survive in this world. If you've survived by pirating, so be it, I say. It's a far more just living than some others I could hope for. And we've got room for more. So what do you say? Care to join my crew?
Greetings, Voyager. I am Ching Shih, and I am in the business of transferring the shipment of goods. I am in command of the Red Flag Fleet. Yes, a woman in command, but how? I became the commander after the death of my husband, Jing Yi, but even before his death, we had run the fleet together. During our marriage, I watched the Red Flag Fleet grow from 200 ships to 600 ships. Under my command, it is approaching 1,800 ships. The fleet has grown so large that now only the lead fleet flies the red flags. The other fleets fly black, white, blue, yellow, or green flags. It takes many people to sail these junks. Junks are traditional Chinese sailing ships, and there are nearly 70,000 pirates under my command. We are one of the most powerful pirate fleets in all of China, and I will see to it that we remain among the most powerful. It takes a leader, it takes strength, and it comes with many risks. To keep control of so many pirates, one must be strict. We have rules that are not to be broken, rules for our protection and to keep order. My pirates are bound to and protected by laws and levies. Any loot that is seized must first be presented to the fleet and registered before it can be distributed. The ship that captured the plunder is entitled to retain 20% of its value, while the remaining 80% is placed into the fleet's collective fund. The punishment for first-time offense of withholding treasure is a harsh whipping of the back. Large amounts of withheld treasure or subsequent offenses carry the death penalty by beheading. Anyone giving their own orders, ones that did not come from me, or disobeying those of a superior, are beheaded on the spot. Deserters, or those who left without official permission, have their ears chopped off and then are paraded around their squadron. And no one is to steal from the public fund or any villagers that supplied us. Care to join aboard? My fleet has taken leadership over many coastal villages from Macau to Canton, and I have enacted levies and taxes on some. In one of the coastal villages, the Sanshan village, they were not welcoming to pirates. My crew beheaded 80 men and then abducted their women and children to hold them for ransom. We also have raided government camps and ships. Of course, this angers the emperor. The Chinese government tried to destroy my fleet in battle on more than one occasion. However, they have yet to succeed. It was I who inflicted several defeats on the Chinese Navy, capturing and commandeering several of their ships. The Qing government has hired European bounty hunters to try and stop me. So now, Chinese, Portuguese, and British naval ships have all been lost to my fleet. Most recently, I've captured the East India Company merchant ship, the Marquis of Ely, crewed by Captain Richard Glasspool and 7 sailors, all of whom are currently in holding. Some call me the Terror of the South China, and it appears that I cannot be defeated. But even I know that my reign will one day end. Pirates know what mortality is. We're just better at evading it. Now, is this the life you expected of a pirate? Are you willing to risk your very life and the lives of others for riches, power, and glory? Then, and only then, can you truly be a member of the Red Flag Fleet. Come aboard, if you dare.